Hey guys, welcome back. I've got some great news for you. I am now one step closer to being considered an official YouTuber. I now have people telling me how wrong I really am. Seriously though, whether you find yourself agreeing with me or not, I encourage comments and discussions in the comments below. I do appreciate any feedback you want to give me. Now, one of my main goals with this channel is to bring people with potentially opposing worldviews to a place of coexistence and mutual understanding. Delusions of grandeur? And there were some inconsistencies in my last video because I didn't keep that goal clearly focused in my mind. Honestly, I was too concerned about trying to keep the video short, under about 10 minutes or so. But I've produced several videos now. I think this one will be number 6 or so. And I'm beginning to have kind of an internal debate about how to approach topics, how to structure the videos, how long they should be, and yeah, a lot of things. Anyway, one viewer in particular got me to thinking about how the last video could have been better. And this video is sort of intended to clarify the last one. Remember how we had to send astronauts up to fix the Hubble Space Telescope almost immediately after putting it into orbit because it took fuzzy pictures? Kinda like that. Gillum89 says, among other things, many, many other things, in every single case in our lives, value and worth increases as quantity decreases. You don't seem to get that. You seem to think that life only matters if it's infinite. In the real world, it would actually become utterly meaningless. Actually, I did give that concept sort of a brief nod in my previous video, but it was very, very brief. Now, we like to say that the brevity of life gives it value. I want to take a moment to address that particular item and then build on it a little bit. And yeah, I'm not concerned with the brevity of this video this time around, so I guess I'll just have to wait and see if anybody sticks around to watch all the way to the end. So, Gillum, here's the thing. You are quite correct that scarcity gives items, even our time, higher value. That's Economics 101, basic supply and demand. It's a simple concept. For example, in the US today, we tend to take water for granted. Now, it's typically very abundant and cheap here, but elsewhere in the world, that's not necessarily the case. Desert-dwelling societies put a much higher value on water, and access to water may play a central role in their economy. But where I live, I pay about 30 or 40 bucks a month, and I can shower, do laundry, run the tap, and flush the pooper as much as I want to. Of course, water is an absolute necessity for life as we know it, so it makes sense that a scarcity of it makes it that much more valuable to us. But humans also place high value on a lot of things that are not necessary for survival at all. Diamonds are not really as rare as we've been led to believe, not even close. But for most of the 20th century, the De Beers Company held a virtual monopoly on the world's supply of diamonds. Through some shady schemes of supply hoarding and controlled release of diamonds into the marketplace, they were able to create artificial scarcity, which drove up prices and led to higher profits. At the same time, they also ran one of the most brilliant, devious, and successful ad campaigns the world has ever seen in order to make demand higher, which drove up prices and led to insane profits.
Diamonds are forever.
So yes, I absolutely understand the importance of scarcity in determining the value of something. But in any discussion about value, regardless of whether it's the value of water, diamonds, famous artworks, or how much you should get paid for an hour of work, there is one common factor.
Humans.
Now, assuming we all agree that science, or at least our current level of science, gives us no way to escape the end of all life everywhere in the universe, then we should all agree that there will be no humans left to assign value to anything at the end. Bears, birds, and wildebeests don't give a rip about the Mona Lisa. Unless, of course, by giving a rip, you mean ripping it to shreds, which is probably what they would do if you just left it out for them to play with. If nobody cared about the Mona Lisa, it wouldn't be hanging in the Louvre, it wouldn't be worth millions of dollars, and in fact, it would have no value whatsoever. It wouldn't matter what we did to it.
We can burn her, bury her, or dump her in the Thames.
What?
Oh, did you like her?
Yes.
But there are people who do care about the Mona Lisa, as well as diamonds and 1967 Chevy Impalas. But when people are removed from the equation, the Mona Lisa is just an old rag with some paint swirled around on it and stretched between a couple of sticks. Diamonds are just sparkly rocks. And in the end, the Impala...
No. Say it, and I will kill you, your children, and your grandchildren.
is just a hunk of metal.
Oh, don't listen to him, baby. He doesn't understand us.
Value is nothing more than a cognitive construct. There can be no value, intrinsic or otherwise, without a mind which creates it. Or maybe for the sake of argument, without life, which needs certain things in order to survive. But the universe is not a living entity, sentient or otherwise, as far as science can tell, so it values nothing. To the universe, I don't matter. You don't matter. Pizza, I can't believe I'm actually going to say this. Pizza doesn't matter! Even matter and energy and black holes and stars and quarks and planets and gravity and space-time don't mean anything in the complete absence of life.
Nothing really matters.
So on one hand, if there is truly no spiritual realm, I do believe it would be fair to say that life only has value as long as there is life somewhere. Now, yes, our lives have value to us. That's not in question. You should absolutely find meaning in your own existence, and each and every one of us should place great value on all life. Appreciate it while it's here, folks, because it's only temporary. Make the best of the time you have. And certainly our lives matter to the people within our immediate circle, and it's even possible for us to leave our mark on the world for generations to come. But this discussion is on a much, much larger scale. I'm really knocking on the door of one of the biggest existential philosophical questions ever raised by man.
Is this all there is?
Now, some would say I'm wasting my time. And maybe I am, I don't know, but it's my time to waste. And if it is a waste of time, at least I'm in good company. Some of the most brilliant minds throughout history have weighed in on the question of existence. And regarding that question, science, currently at least, says that in the end, and we're talking about the literal end of the universe, there will be no life. Zero. Zip. Zilch. Nada. Therefore, at the scientific end of all things, life and everything which life forms accomplished will cease to have any value because value depends on the existence of life. Nothing that any life form could ever do would continue to hold value once all life is gone. There's no escaping that logic.
We created a vast interstellar civilization.
Don't care.
We cured all disease.
Also don't care.
Oh, oops. We just destroyed a whole planet.
Never going to care. Whatever. I never cared anyway. I'm literally unable to care.
Of course, our lives have meanings to us, in our minds, as well they should. But in the greater scheme of things, Science says the end is the end, and our existence or non-existence doesn't matter to the universe. And if that's the case, then so be it. It can't be changed, and if that makes you or me sad,
still don't care.
So, if the atheists are right, that is where it's all going to end up. But on the other hand,
I mean, sure, if life in the universe could go on forever, then the continuation of the species certainly makes for a strong argument.
as I mentioned in the last video, if humanity, or for the sake of argument, any form of life could go on forever without end, all of that changes. Whether it's a physical, perpetual, unending cycle of life in a universe that will never die, or the continuation of individual lives in a religious sense, life then becomes a part of the equation that would never go away. Since our universe, scientifically speaking, is living on borrowed time, here's where the realm of religion and spirituality becomes important to our discussion. And to be clear, I'm not limiting the conversation to Christianity alone. For those of us who believe that there is any version of a next life, the life we are currently living does hold intrinsic, eternal value. Or as my good friend, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius so eloquently stated, the choices we make now will echo in eternity. Life, the universe, and everything, as described by science alone, cannot provide meaning, value, or purpose beyond the end of all things. During our lives, sure. As long as something else is alive somewhere? Maybe. But it is only within the spiritual realm that life and meaning walk together on an eternal path. Without a spiritual foundation, any progress which we make, anything we create, any purpose or value we discern for ourselves is only temporary. So please understand, I'm not making a good-bad kind of judgment with that statement. I'm just presenting a fact that no atheist should have a quarrel with, because the point we should both agree on here is that we're all going to die. This life is not forever, and the universe itself is not going to last forever. Therefore, the meaning of life is irrelevant in the absence of life. Now, whether that conclusion is a good thing or a bad thing is another discussion altogether. Clever segue. Now, yes, there are some folks who hang on to the idea of the afterlife as something akin to a personal security blanket. It makes them feel better about stuff. But that's a completely backward, self-centered way of looking at things, and that's not what I'm about. Life is not about self. Life is about how you treat other people while you're here.
Love thy neighbor as thyself.
What it boils down to, for me at least, is this. Unless something of us continues beyond the end, none of our discussions and arguments are really that important to begin with. If 84% of humanity is in fact wrong, and there is no afterlife whatsoever, well, then our belief in it really wouldn't matter one way or the other, would it? After all, dead is still dead, right? And eventually, nothing alive will remain, right? So, my self-imposed religious delusion, if you want to call it that, will have meant nothing to the universe, either for better or for worse. So, if I'm wrong, hey, congratulations, you were right. You win the argument. Not that that makes a difference either in the end, because nothing we think or do or build or accomplish matters in the total absence of life. Sure, it matters to us for the brief time we're here, but once we're all gone, who's going to be left to care?
Not me.
But if I am right, if the 84% is right, if something of us does continue beyond what we perceive as physical reality, and what we do now really does echo throughout eternity, then the questions that theologians and spiritual scholars have been asking throughout all of human history should be questions which we all need to consider, because they will matter even after all life in the physical universe is gone. Virtually every religious or spiritual belief system has some kind of concept that our current actions will have everlasting ramifications. Now, given that, is it really so unreasonable to suggest that you at least consider the possibilities with an open mind? Who could it hurt? You've got nothing to lose and potentially everything to gain.
One other question occurred to me as I was editing all this, so hence the scene change. If you have actually won the argument and you're right about the eventual fate of humanity, the universe, all that, why all of the anger and negativity directed toward people who do believe? If we're all going to die and rot in the ground, what does it matter if some of us have ideas that are not quite right about what happens after that?
My goal with this video, and really with this channel, isn't to prove one side or the other. If you came here looking for that, well, sorry. That's not what I'm going for. What I do hope is that every now and then you maybe think about all this and ask yourself, what if?
Nobody puts baby in a corner.